Alright, Potato here, back with another Honkai style video. And today I wanted to be going over the two new relic sets that we are getting in 2.6 and showing you guys the characters that are going to be receiving a pretty nice buff because of it. So these two new relic sets are going to be, again, a part of the 2.6 update. There's going to be a new cavern to farm, and they are looking to be pretty damn solid for these characters I'm about to mention. So this video is going to be going over the relic sets and then taking you over the characters that they're going to be good for. There still might be other cases where the current ones in game might be better in certain situations, but for the most part, these are probably going to be the best. And yep, that's all I gotta say. Before I go to the video, drop a like, drop a sub, hit the bell icon for more videos like this. We're getting really close to the 8k goal, ever slowly approaching the actual 10k goal. Very much appreciated. If you haven't subbed already, make sure to do so. And again, let's get straight into it. So as we're seeing, the first one is the Relieved Ordeal set, and we look at the 2-piece, which increases speed by 6%. And then the 4-piece, when using skill or ultimate on one target ally, increases the ability target's crit damage by 18%, lasting for 2 turns, and stacks up to 2 times. So as we are seeing, this is more of a supportive set. The speed increase is going to be very beneficial, since practically anyone using this set is going to love a lot of speed. And then the 4-piece is only utilized by characters that have a specific target actually selected for the buff. So it is pretty self-explanatory who this is going to be best for. One of them is obviously going to be Sparkle, thanks to the playstyle of her actual skill, as she does actually select a single ally to buff crit damage of already based off her own, and gives a 50% action forward. And the optimal way to build Sparkle is with a bunch of speed, usually having her with 160 speed plus. And that is already accomplished with having Hackerspace, and Hackerspace is a thing that just gives everyone more speed, which can also mess with some people's rotation, so a lot of times people just use 2-piece Hackerspace rather than the actual full 4-piece. But with this new set, it does provide you speed, as we did see, and now it also provides more crit damage. There are very few characters that actually have crit damage diluted. The only real case is with Yunli. So having Sparkle with another DPS practically doesn't ever make it to where you get the crit damage diluted, because she does have a soft cap at 240, and since this is going to be its own thing where you are buffing 18%, you can get an extra free up to 36% crit damage. So you are getting the big buff from her actual skill with the action forward, and now with the relic set you get that based off her own, and then you also get an additional 36% for that DPS you select, which is going to be very nice. That extra 36% crit damage is going to be extremely nice. Again, the only real character that dilutes it is practically just Yunli, and for the most part you don't really use Sparkle with Yunli anyways, so that's kind of why that this is probably still going to be your best one, thanks to the fact that one, it gives you speed just like Hackerspace, so you can still build her with hyper speed, and now you're getting an additional crit damage buff, making it very powerful. So you add the fact that she already buffs crit damage, gives an action forward, can give a bunch of skill points, damage dealt, attack percent, and then again, now with the new relic set, more actual crit damage. So it's just going to be her best one overall. Similar and practically for the same reasons as Sparkle, Bronya is going to benefit from it a lot, because she does have that single target actual ally buff, which is the one where you increase their damage by 66%, and you also dispel the debuff. Again, don't sleep on this, very broken, and then immediately take action. So now when you do give that ally the dispel, and you also give them that extra action and increase their damage, on top of that, now you're giving up to a 36% crit damage buff. You start at 18, then the next time you do it, it will actually be a whopping 36% increase. So now, even with Bronya's skill, rather than just the damage increase from the actual skill, you are now on top of that getting more crit damage. As we do know, instead of Sparkle can give it off her skill. Bronya gave the crit damage off her ult. Now her skill can actually give some crit damage as well. The only real time you would not really use this set on her is if you are running her with Boot Hill, which is pretty common, since Boot Hill won't really benefit from the actual crit damage too much. But since this is another 2-piece speed set, you could also do 2-piece speed. I forgot to even mention that for any of these characters. If you want to build them real hyper speed, you can just do 2-piece speed. But it is best to capitalize off the actual 4-piece of one of the relic sets. And so now with this, Bronya also gives you, again, the Dispel, gives you the action advance full, and then also gives you the 66% damage increase. On top of that, now giving you 36% crit damage. And so she gets a nice buff as well. Tingyan is another character that can benefit very well off this actual set, as you also build her really fast, also thanks to the fact that she has very high base speed. Both her buffs from her ultimate and skill are both single targets, so usually you run her with like a hyper carry that can benefit from the energy, so Daneng IL, Yunli. The extra 36% crit damage you get if you pair her with Yunli shouldn't be diluted. The only reason it's really diluted with Sparkle is because she already gives so much, so that's why Sparkle only dilutes it. But with the extra 36%, that shouldn't be enough to actually dilute it, so this is going to be really good with Yunli as well. And again, just any hyper carry with Daneng, again, Yunli, they are all hyper carries. Any crit hyper carry you run with Tingyan is a benefit from this, because you're able to buff them with the skill and also ultimate, so if you are literally just right away using the ultimate to buff and then using the skill to buff right as the battle starts, you practically just get the full thing stacked. So you give them the buffs that Tingyun provides with the actual energy and the damage increase, and then you're also gaining the benediction buff from the skill. And since you use one single target buff on that ally and now two, you now have the full set stack, because it can stack up to 2 times. So you have a 16% plus 16% because you did it twice, and now you have a 36% increase to crit damage. So Tingyun is probably going to be the one that could use it most efficiently, especially because you build her fast. She's usually always one of the first ones to act. You usually give her dance, so you can just pop the ultimate, and now it's everyone's turn, and now she's practically guaranteed to be the one going next, unless you're running her with an action forward character. But besides the point, she's going to be going first, so you use the ultimate, use it on the ally, that's 1 stack of the relic set, and then you use the skill, and that is 2 stacks of the relic set, boom, and now you just go crazy. So Tingyun can actually use it very well too. And then the last character is Hanya, as she is the only other Harmony support that has the single target buff. I don't really got to talk about Hanya too much. The skill is an actual attack with the burden, so that's not going to benefit there. But as she's also built fast, thanks to also having very high base speed, you also have the ultimate, which is the actual buff, which buffs the ally speed and also gives them a big attack increase. And on top of that, you're going to be giving crit damage increase. I don't really think of Hanya teams that you can run on the top of my head, but any team you do run her on is usually with another character that can benefit from the actual crit damage as well if she had that kind of buff. And now this relic set allows that, so you get the 6% speed increase as you would if you were running Hackerspace. And now you are also gaining an extra up to 36% crit damage increase, thanks to the fact that it unfortunately is only her ultimate, so it might be a bit slow. But even the 16% crit damage on its own is very valuable. That's more than Broken Keel on its own. And then if you're also able to somehow get the energy back within the time frame, you can have up to the 36% as well. So Hanya is also able to make use of the set. As for the second relic set, it is going to be the Scholar Lost in Erudition. And if you take a look at what it does, the 2-piece increases crit rate by 8%, which is a very good 2-piece for practically anyone. I'm only going to be talking about characters that benefit from actual the 2-piece and 4-piece, but the 2-piece is going to be really good for practically any crit DPS. And then the 4-piece increases damage dealt by skill and ultimate by 20%, and after you use ultimate, additionally increases damage dealt by the next skill by 25%. So this is mainly going to be better for people that have their main damage come off the skill and also have nice damage off their ultimate. So you usually use the ultimate for a certain reason or just whatever, just to get more damage out. But then there's someone that gets more damage off the actual skill, because you get the actual using the ultimate increases the damage from the next skill. So pretty much you'd use this with someone that actually has the main damage come off their skill rather than their ultimate, but still has their ultimate for an important reason to do good damage or for another reason. And the first and practically biggest character that comes to mind with that is Jinglu. So I'm sure the Jinglu fans are rejoicing with this new relic set as you do go into the Transcendent state. And as we do know, her actual main damage doesn't come from using the ultimate or anything. It comes from the actual blast skill that she gains when she is in her state. And you usually use the ultimate in order to actually keep up the Transcendent state, because you do gain a stack. So it is able to help you keep uptime on the actual state that you get from the talent and give you the damage on the blast, because obviously the damage you get at her base with the single target skill is not good. So the whole playstyle is to use the ultimate strategically so you can have a more uptime on the actual blast skill from being in the Transcendent state. I don't know why I keep saying Transcendent, it's spectral state, so I ignore that. But yeah, as we know, the damage that she does doesn't actually come from the ultimate mainly, it actually comes from the blast skill. So once you do go into the form, you do have the usage of the ultimate that's going to buff your skill. So you're already getting a 25% increase in damage for your skill and your ultimate. Once you use the ultimate for the specific reason to keep it up, your next skill you use is going to hit by having a 25% damage increase. So making it hit that much harder, making this possibly and probably Jinglu's best in slot. And then the only other character that could probably use this very well is actually Zele, as we do know her skill is spammed. Her ultimate does more damage than the skill technically, but you use the skill way more obviously. So this is probably not going to beat the Quantum set, as it does give you a big defense ignore increase against Quantum weak enemies. But if you take her on a boss that does not have Quantum weak enemies and you don't take Silverwolf, for whatever reason, apparently that's way more common than I think, you can actually use this set as it does increase the skill and ultimate. And then the one time you do use the ultimate, say to kill someone, you can proc into the resurgent state and then use the skill again to do even more damage. And as it also does give the crit rate, both Jinglu, I forgot to mention the crit rate for her, is going to be really helpful, and then for Zele especially, it's going to be very helpful too. And so in a state where you are not running her against Quantum weak enemies, the Quantum set falls off by a good amount. It's still good, but it still falls off. And now you can actually just use this set instead, making it a very good set for Zele. And yeah, that is the buffs for the actual characters. So the actual Relieved Ordeal set is going to be better because it's buffing more characters. Practically anyone with the single target buff benefits from it. And so any future character with a single target buff, this will probably be their best in slot. And then as for this one, anyone that has their main damage come from skill and then also can have an ultimate as a buff, or have their ultimate as a damage dealer, but then can make the skill keep up, like Jinglu, where you use the ultimate to keep up the actual state for longer, or Zele, where the actual ult is a nice damage attack, but the skill is the main thing you use for damage. For now, this set is only really utilized by those two, but the 2-piece is very good, so you're able to do a lot of 2-piece actual scenarios. And if you do have Jinglu / Zele, and then you have like Sparkle, Tingy, and Bronya, then you have a pretty efficient domain to be farming. So that is the characters that are going to be getting a pretty nice buff. Let me know if you guys are going to be farming this set, because I personally probably will be actually farming this one because I use Sparkle and Bronya on the daily. So definitely will have to consider that. But yeah, let me know. Peace out.